service of AWS. Route 53. With the help of Route 53 service of AWS, we can purchase domains and we can domain host and you can monitor your domains. So talking much about domain hosting, basically there are two types of domain hosting. One is public and the other is private.
Okay.
So assume that you have your own LAN in your company or maybe a VPC in one of the AWS region, and you want to build a DNS server, okay, only for that particular LAN. Then you have to go for creating a private domain hosting. Okay, when you create this private domain hosting, under this private domain hosting, whatever the records you create, okay, records, talking about records, there are different types of records like a record, CNAME record, MX record, PT something. Let me open up. These are all the different types of records that our AWS Route 53 supports. Okay, so different records has different purposes. For example, when you talk about a record types to helps to resolve that domain name to IP address. So what happens? I'll tell you. From your PC or laptop, whenever you type in your browser www.google.com or whatever the domain name it is, first your system or your browser will check internally whether does your system know where exactly google.com website is hosted. So every system will have internally host files, so we call it as host files of the system. If assume that you have specified something on the host file saying that hey, www.google.com is located at so and so IP address 54.67.8.9. If you specify this kind of thing on your internal local systems host file, then your system will send, okay, that request to particular IP address of whatever you specified. For example, let me show on Windows where it can find. On Windows system, you usually have this host file at C. This is our internal systems host file. From here, first it will check. Okay, if you give something like Now I saved something IP address to www.google.com. So whenever I type from my browser www.google.com, my browser tries to get the google.com website from that particular IP address. But we know that I have kept it some randomly. There is no Google website is located on that particular browser. So it can't load that google.com website. Okay. First, it will check in your system localhost file, and then every system on the network part. Let me open up my network part for you. Here, by default, I kept my system to take the IP address and the DNS server address automatically. So my system is pulling the DNS server information. So the second, if it doesn't find google.com here, my system will reach another server called DNS servers, whatever I specified on my host files. If I don't specify from in my, particularly in my network configuration setting, so what it will do, it will try to pull the DNS server details from my routers. So let us see what it pull, what are the DNS servers it has taken. Now here he doesn't specify nothing DNS details. So where can we find the DNS details? In Windows 7, 8 servers, whenever we right click here, we will have an option called detail. So this Windows 10. Okay, let's leave that. So you'll have the DNS server information like primary DNS server, and secondary DNS server. Now it goes to primary DNS server. If the primary DNS server knows, then it will try to fetch the google.com website from that DNS server. If secondary DNS server know where exactly, then it will goes to secondary. If it does not know, even again the request goes to this DNS server. For every this server also will have another DNS server. Like this, all DNS servers are interlinked with each other in the world. Okay, this is how your website will be. Finally, it will reach. DNS server says, "Hey, your website www.google.com is located at some point. Go and bring it." Then the request will go to that particular server, and it will download that website to your system. This is how DNS server works. DNS server helps to resolve domain names. Okay, to what? Either it is resolve domain names to IP address or resolve domain names to other domain names. So sometimes what happens, whenever you type www.google.com, sometimes the page automatically redirects to google.com, but you type www.google.com, it redirects to google.com, because on the back end they create a record type called cname record. Okay, what does exactly the cname record does is, cname record stands for canonical name. What is canonical name? For assume that your name is Rajshekhar. Some people may call you Raj. It's like shortcut name, or we can say it as alias name of Rajshekhar. Similarly, for your website www.google.com, sorry, for your website google.com, you can keep an alias name like www.google.com to google.com. So whenever somebody types www.google.com on their browser, automatically that request will be redirected to google.com. And again, we know that whenever the request redirects to google.com, on the back end you created a record saying that, hey, google.com, resolve it to some IP address. Like that, you can keep n number of cnames, like you can keep test.google.com. So whenever somebody types test.google.com, again it will redirect to google.com. This is how you create alias canonical name records for your website. So just go through these different records and their purposes. Okay, this will help you. Now let me remove this. I'll comment this line and then I'll save. Now if I refresh this page, now it will try to get the website. Okay, if you have domain name server, or if you want to domain name server restrict to only one VPC or LAN, then you have to create private DNS hosting on our AWS. Okay, but if you want to open your DNS server or DNS hosting to public, then you create public DNS server. If you create any records on public DNS hosting, okay, if you create any records on public DNS hosting, those records will be utilized by all over the people in the world. So it will be utilized by all the people in the world. So let us see how do we do that. Go to Route 53. This is the dashboard, and this is a global service. It is not restricted to any one of the region. That's the region. Here you can see it is global. Whenever you see the dashboard, here it says, it talks about DNS management. It means that how many, right now I have already 4 hosted zones and 2 health checkups monitoring and 4 domain registrations. It means that 4 domains they have purchased and they have hosted that for that 4 domains, for domain hosting they have done. Let us see. First we'll talk about how do we purchase domain names. So here on the domains left side you can see registered domains. Go to there and if you want to purchase domain name, here you have to click register domain and you have to search for the domain. For example, if I want to purchase some domain name called karthik.com, okay, first I have to check whether it is available or not. Somebody took it. Okay, the related domain names is like suggesting you can purchase even this is how you check if it is available, then add to cart. He's charging you, you can see that per 1 year he's charging you $12 per that domain. Depending upon the domain names and that .com .in, the price varies. You can see $10 also here, some domains. .net $11, .co.uk $9, okay, .io $39. After purchasing the domain name, okay, you have to host your domain name. For that, you have to go to hosted zones. Top right side, left side. Here you can see there is the option called hosted zones. Click on that, and then here you can create a hosted zones like by clicking on create hosted zone. While creating, this is the create hosted zone page. While creating the hosted zone, you have to specify for which domain you are trying to create a hosted zone. For example, I was trying to create a hosted zone for karthik.com. Okay, and specify any comments like this is for our remembrance. Created for testing, and choose whether you want to create public or private. If you create public, then this will be resolved with all over the people in the world. Okay, if you create private, it will be just to your VPC. In your VPC, only computers can resolve these domain names, and you have to specify which region, okay, which VPC you're trying to create for which LAN in which region. Mumbai, I have 3 LANs, 3 VPCs. Specifically, you have to specify the particular VPC, and you have to create this private hosted zone. Let us see. As soon as you create this private hosted zone, by default he will provide 2 name records. We call it as records, karthik.com and karthik.com, NS and SOE, different type of name records. Okay, these are, NS stands for name server, name name server records. Okay, assume that you have domain name and you are not purchasing it from our Amazon AWS. Then what you need to do is assume that you have domain name you have purchased with some other people like GoDaddy or BigRock, but you want to make domain hosting with our AWS Route 53 service. Then create hosting zone and then change the name records values to the values that was provided by your domain purchase company. Like assume that you have purchased it from GoDaddy. GoDaddy will give you these name values like ns-godaddy dot something like. If you change it to that, then your domain name works. Okay. Any doubts on this topic, guys? Till now. Dattatreya, is that okay? Any doubts you have?
No, Karthik.
Okay. What about you, Srinivas?
No, bro.
Srinivas, do you have any doubts on this topic? Is that good? Clear? Okay, guys. Now, let me create a record for this karthik.com. I'll click on create record, and I'm trying to create a record for only karthik.com, right? So here you don't keep any subdomain names. Okay, just karthik.com, leave it and select a record and type the value like some IP address where exactly karthik.com is located. Okay, and then just click create. Now for that particular LAN, Mumbai LAN, when somebody in the LAN computer tries to resolve the domain name karthik.com, that request will be redirected to this particular IP address. Or if you can create another record like www.karthik.com, to same, type a record, or you can create canonical name record to karthik.com. So whenever somebody types www.karthik.com also, it will redirect to karthik.com and it will fetch the website from this particular IP address. But make sure that on this particular IP address you have a system and you have a web server installed with a website karthik.com on that. This is how you create records. While creating records, you can create another record like test.karthik.com. Some IP address. Here you can see there is an option called routing policy. What does this routing policy mean? I'll tell you. Guys, this is the most important topic, this routing policy. So listen it carefully. Amazon has supported five different routing policies. One is simple routing policy, failover routing policy, latency routing policy, weighted routing policy, geolocation routing policy. Now what is simple routing policy? Under simple routing policy, this is a client. He's trying to assume that some website example.com from his desktop. So first his request looks into his host file and then it reaches to DNS server. Okay, from DNS server to DNS server, DNS server, DNS server till it finds the IP address and it will get the website from that server and it will fetch it to the client. Okay, this is a simple routing policy, nothing much. Talking about failure routing policy, what if there is a problem with your server? Your server has crashed suddenly. In this scenario, what you can do is you can keep another server. Okay, on the DNS server you can say my primary website, you have to fetch it from server A and secondary is from server B. So whenever this primary goes down, the DNS server will know your primary server has some problem because your website is not loading. Then it will redirect the new incoming traffic to the secondary server. Similarly, in elastic load balancer, this is what you did, right? Elastic load balancer, what it does, it will automatically redirect the incoming traffic to multiple instances. But here we are redirecting the incoming traffic if there is a problem with your primary server to secondary server, a domain name only, domain request only. Okay, it is like I'll draw a high level architecture here. Client, his request goes to route 53. Here if you create failover record for your website, then the primary record is something, the secondary record is something. Under that again your request goes and hits to elastic load balancer, and from there you'll have a auto scaling group. Under this auto scaling group you'll have multiple instances where your traffic will be redirected. Similarly, might be you have designed your auto scaling only to one availability zone 1 and availability zone 2. Maybe this side you have designed it only for availability zone 1. It depends upon how you configure your architecture. Okay, at the DNS level only you can redirect the traffic. So this DNS has to perform health checkups on this endpoint elastic load balancer, or if it doesn't have any elastic load balancer, you directly have server connected here. It has to perform the health checkups on this primary server. It has to perform the health checkups on this primary server and this secondary server. If it founds on the health checkups the primary server is not loading the website, then it will redirect all the incoming new requests to the secondary server. This how you can create is for which you are creating. For example, that for Karthik only I want to create like that. Just edit this record. I'll try to edit the Karthik record. Okay, karthik.com. Here under routing, I'll go to failover and I'll specify two IP addresses. Enter 64.8.9.10. Assume that this is your primary server, this is your secondary server. Like that, you can keep n number of servers: primary, second, third, fourth. Enter another server IP address. Okay, this is how you create routing policy for failover. Now, any doubts on this particular routing policy, guys? Okay. Now we'll talk about other routing policy. Latency routing policy. While talking about latency routing policy, I want to insert something. Hmm. What happened to this picture? Okay, that's good. Windows is very fast. Now, assume that you have kept your servers in Singapore region. Have kept your servers in Singapore region. Now, people, you started a business and you're expanding your business. Okay, now people started visiting your website from Western countries like Virginia, California. Now, and people started exploring your website from different Eastern countries too as well, like Tokyo, different regions. For a people, whenever tries from India, I'm sitting at India, I'm trying to pull the website from Singapore. So the distance is very less when compared with this California, right? Now for me, the website will be load very fast. As in that the website is loading for me like 6 seconds. For California, the same website, it has to travel all over this world and to reach to California. For him, it is loading at around 16 seconds. Now, in this scenario, what you can do is, for the people on the Western countries means this side countries. Okay, you can host another web server with same website. Okay, with the same website. So whenever these people tries to pull the website, your DNS server say, hey, there is a server that is near to you, located at some Virginia data center. You pull the same website from that server. This is how, depending upon the latency, for him here, latency is only 4 seconds, assume that. Then he will get the website from this server only. Depending upon the latency, you can design your routing policies. If you go for, so you have to specify all the web servers IP addresses here, and you have to choose latency. Okay, routing policy latency, where exactly the server is located, particular region. Okay, this is how you create latency routing policies. And when we talk about the other routing policies, weighted routing policy. Under weighted routing policy, client route 53, you have created a weighted record. Assume that you have two servers. You can say that, hey, incoming traffic out of 100%, you divide 70% traffic to server A and remaining 30% to server B. This is how you can specify the weight ratio for the traffic, like 70 is to 30, or if you want 60 is to 40. This is how you can specify the weight ratio under weighted routing policy. So wherever the location it is, when your people tries to type www.example or google.com, so it will come to DNS server, and DNS server, out of this 100 people, if they are typing, they're trying to fetch the website for that particular second. Okay, it will deviate 60% traffic to the first server and 60%, 40% traffic to the second server, if you specify the weighted ratio record on your DNS entry. This is the weighted routing policy. And talking about other routing policy, geolocation routing policy. So might you have seen sometimes whenever you type some websites, it will say this website is not authorized for your country. Okay, this is how you can see some websites. If it means that if you want your website only to explore only to Singapore region, or particular this area Singapore or Europe or different continents, okay, you can do that. Just go to here, select it as geolocation and choose your location. There are different continents: Africa, Antarctica, Asia. Even you can restrict the website only to specific country also. Okay, if I want to restrict my website to Asia, so people from Asia only get that website. If I want to restrict my website to only India, now people from only India can load that website. If somebody tries to open that website from different country, it will say you are not authorized to. I mean, this website is not for your country. It's like a pop-up message will come. This is how even you can restrict your website to one geolocation. That's the reason he named it as this policy, routing policy, as geolocation routing policy. These are all the different routing policies for your DNS incoming traffic to fetch the website. So any doubts on this topic, guys, you have?
Bro, if I want to restrict only to China, how it is?
Create geolocation routing policy and restrict it to only China. On the type China, you choose China.
Other than China, will go to everywhere.
Only people from China can view this website.
No, I want to block for only China. Then,
You want to block for only China.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. In this region, this that's a good question you have. Yeah, here you can create a record and routing policies. No, I too don't know. Let me find this information and I'll get back to you.
Okay, bro.
Next, any other questions? Some people say, hey, I want my website to have failover and it should have latency routing also. Then what you can do is for that particular record, you can create a traffic flow. I'll talk about the picture about this particular diagram only for a better understanding what is traffic flow. In the meantime, let me delete whatever we created, or else people get charged a lot. First you have to delete the records, and then you can delete the zone. What are the records you have created? And then go to zones. Okay, now we're talking about traffic flow, right? Okay, what is traffic flow means? Can you read this? Should I expand it? Okay. Now, on this arrow mark indicates that people are trying to hit your. You just created a weighted rule saying that for that first server, 90%, 95% traffic goes to this particular server, like 10, 107, 20, 138, or 116, and the remaining 5% traffic goes to the second server. This is just a one routing policy. Simple. If you go to some complex or routing policy structure, guys, can you read this?
No, bro. Zoom it.
I zoomed it maximum. Okay, I'll draw it for you. Now, assume that your client wants. We'll talk about one case in a case study. Your client has customers from USA and Singapore. Now he wants his server to load very fast. His websites to load very fast to both the regions. He came and asked, "Hey Karthik, I have a server in Singapore region that is serving my website to all over the people in the world. Now I have a problem with USAP client saying that my website is loading very slow to them." Yes, because server is in Singapore and website is far away from Singapore, right? So they are facing USA clients some latency issue. Their website is loading very fast. Okay, so my client concern is about latency. And another he said, the client said, "Hey Karthik, I have only one server. Now and then I'll for maintenance I have to power off my server and I have to update the new versions of website in my server. Okay, in this scenario, I don't want my clients to lose my website. Like I don't want the downtime for my website. So his concern is about failover. It means that downtime. Okay, that means that failover. This is the only two concern. If your client approaches to you, then you can create a traffic flow for him on DNS records saying that When your client hits your website, example.com, okay, we'll create latency record for USA and Singapore. 2.1 server, primary server and secondary server. So people from USA, they'll get the website from this server nearby USA. People from Singapore, they'll get the website from server near Singapore. Okay, and failover. You can say another record failover, and you can say primary is Singapore server, secondary is USA server. So in this worst case scenario, if you have some problem with Singapore server, even people from Singapore can get a website from this USA region. This is how you have to create your records. For that, you have to go to traffic flow, create traffic policy, name the policy name. See version 1. This can have different versions. Next, what his primary concern is latency. Latency rule. Which regions this guy has the servers? One is Singapore, other is Virginia. Yes, Virginia. What is his second concern? Failover. What is his primary server? Specify the primary server IP address. सिंगापुर में रहता है ना वो प्राइमरी सर्वर का आईपी एड्रेस यू हैव टू स्पेसिफाई हियर सेकेंडरी वर्जीनिया में जो सर्वर है उसका आईपी एड्रेस यू स्पेसिफाई हियर दिस इज सैंपल आईपी एड्रेसेस आई हैव टेकन इट What is the Singapore server IP address? We have 5467.8. .54 57.9.8.0. Okay. Now what this exactly this diagram tells us is, that's the reason I'll ask people who are working on this AWS should have a very big monitors. So whenever you hit the traffic from Singapore region, people from Singapore region, whenever they hit, okay, first they'll try to get the website primarily from this particular endpoint, Singapore. If something happens to this server, they'll get this website from this another Virginia region. Okay. Now, whenever the people hit the traffic from California, okay, first they'll get the website from. Okay, here I have to change it to 9 dot the California nearby region. What is that? 57.9.8.0. 57.9.8.0. They'll get the website from California server. If that happens, something happens to California server, they'll get the website from other Singapore server. What is the Singapore server IP address? 54.6.7.8. 54.6.7.8. This is how you can design routing policies, okay, for your traffic with the combination of all these five different routing policies. You can, it depends upon how complex you want your routing policies. What is your, with the combination of these five routing policies, you can design your traffic flow for your web servers. Is that clear, guys? Any doubts you have? Should I,
No, bro.
should I explain this once again?
Yes, sir.
Singapore region people are having primary and secondary server. The primary server is 7.8, the server which is at Singapore. Okay, the secondary server is 9.8.0. This is it. People for, if something happens to your primary server, that's the reason this website can be fetched from the secondary server, where secondary server is located at California. Okay, this is for Singapore people. If people hit the traffic from California region, their primary server is 8.0, the server which is in Virginia, California, near to California data center. They'll get it. The secondary server is from Singapore. This is how you can see, for my routing policy, I have failover created as well as latency created. This is what my client requirement, right? I got a case study from client saying that, hey, I need, my primary concern is what he told. One is failover, latency, and other is failover. My website is loading very slow to USA people. That's the reason we created another web server on USA and we have pointed. Other is failover. So sometimes my website goes down. So I need a failover server for that. That's the reason we created a failover routing policy. This is how you create failover, I mean, routing policy traffic flow structures. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
You can create this traffic policy. After creating, you can import this traffic policy as a local file to your system. Okay. Whenever you need changes, you can do changes and you can save that as a version 2. Whenever you want to implement same kind of routing policies in different AWS accounts, you can export this, whatever the local file you downloaded, that to different AWS accounts, or you can share it with different people. This is a beautiful visualizer created by Amazon for traffic flow for DNS. So we spoke about hosted zones, traffic flow, registered domains, and we'll talk about health checks. Now, here you can ask, hey Karthik, how do my Route 53 knows the primary server, secondary server is healthy or not? If it is not healthy, then only it has to deviate the traffic, right? So, this is how you create health checkups. Create health checkup, okay, for which thing you're creating a health checkup. For example, you're trying to create a health checkup for some server. Name the server name or anything you can name here. Like I'll name it as test case server for my remember. Endpoint. Where do you want to perform this health checkup? One is you can perform health checkup by pinging to the server IP address. If I select your IP address, always my Route 53 will ping your server. If the server gives the ping response, it will say, hey, okay, your server is good, and it will start deviating the traffic to your server. But sometimes what happens in worst case scenario, my server will be running, but the software called web server software called Apache. Example, Apache is a web server software, but the web server software crashes. Assume that, then automatically the website will go down, right? And this Route 53 is just pinging your server and it is getting response. What it does, it assumes that hey, website is good and web server is good, so he'll deviate the traffic to that server. Now people won't get the website. So in such scenario, what you can do, even you can ping, I mean you can get the response, okay, to your website also by choosing the domain name, specify on which protocol you have hosted the website on that particular website and what is that website name and which port that website is running, and you can specify, you can call that homepage of that website index.html. If this homepage is loaded to this particular Route 53, then it will say okay, the website is running good. How does this know? It will not ping to your homepage. Here it will check the HTTP status code. If the HTTP status code responds with status code 200, here 200 means everything is good. Bolke. Again, you have to read what are all these HTTP status codes, everything. Okay, just go through this and find. Sometime page not load, error found, page not. You'll see different problems like page not found, timeout, unresponsive page, client request failed, server request failed. This HTTP code says what happened exactly. 200 means everything is okay. If your website is loading, everything means it means 200 is. So if this elastic load balance, sorry, Route 53 gets that 200 response, it means that everything is good and going. Now it will start dividing the traffic. You can see my people have created two health checkups to their website http IP address / index.php. Okay, and here see status is good, healthy. If there is some problem, they it will direct the traffic to secondary server. And he has created he had not created alarms also. Even you can create alarms also. If something unhealthy, then it will trigger the alarm and it will notify the end user by sending SMSs or emails, that kind of thing. You can do that also while creating these health checkups. Here you can have this alarm creation, advanced configuration. Reset alarm. In the second step he is giving. If you type everything here and go for second step, you'll find the creation of alarm. Get notified when health check fails. Okay, I don't want to create these health checkups right now because it charge how much price, let me see. AWS Route 53 health check pricing. Basic health check $0.50 per health checkup per month he's charging. Optional health checkup $1 per month. Again, AWS endpoints and non-AWS endpoints. On that health checkup, people sometimes what they do, they'll have some servers on AWS and some servers on their local data center. If you have some servers on local data center and you're performing health checkup on that local data center servers, I mean office servers, he'll charge you $2, double the price. Because boss, I'm performing health checkup on the server that is at your data center. If you host a data server on my data center on AWS, then he'll charge for this health checkup only $1. That's you can see the pricing difference, partiality. This is something about health checkups pricing, and I want to show you AWS Route 53 record pricing. This is very high pricing Amazon is charging. Not only Amazon, this prices usually would be very cost. Something around I think $50 per record, I think. So I created 2 records. I don't know how many dollars they'll charge. Hosted for hosting zones is charging just again not more than $1 per month. But when it comes to on that hosted zone, you try to create a record, right? I created 2 records, www.karthik.com and karthik.com. For each and every record, here is a $50 per policy record. The traffic, everything record we created, right? That if you create that, he'll charge per month $50 for policy. If you go for routing policy and choose any one of the policy rather than simple like failover, weighted for each and every record you create, that kind of thing, he'll charge you $50 per month for that particular record. Okay. So any doubts on this topic, guys? Okay, that's it for today. Just go through AWS documentation and have a look at this, try to play with it. Okay.
Karthika, when is the next class?